Mark Mutumba, policy analyst with Siatini, to let us in on what this actually means. Mark, a very good morning to you. Now, we were excited about the consignment that has come through and expecting, now I think the palm prices are going to go down. And then Kenya is giving us a 145 billion slap of a fee at Vitol, at the Vitol, terminal. What does this mean, first of all?
First of all, good morning, everyone that is watching us. I think two things could actually have happened. Either government did not foresee this, or it's simply Kenya retaliating. So you'll find that if a country has been making close to 2 billion in a year, and this is through the direct trade that they've been having with you as a country, and then you choose to take another alternative or through the policy switch, then that means that the country still has to safeguard its income through its revenues. So secondly, that we have to look at it in a way that previously Uganda has been enjoying the government arrangement between Kenya and Uganda that perhaps has been enabling the country to get subsidized prices. Now at this particular moment they're dealing with a company which does not necessarily exempt it from what the actual cost of production would be, because ideally that would mean that UGX is just like any other company within the
And that is one of the issues Kenya had brought up in the first place when there was a ping pong, a back and forth. And Kenya said, no, we were dealing with Ugandan government. Now we are dealing with a company. So are we just putting in emotions because we're probably expected, this is East African community and we should understand?
Perhaps yes, perhaps no. We have to look at it in the sense of what the vision was. Because ideally, when they are envisioning to reduce the cost of oil on the pumps that Uganda was perhaps facing as a challenge due to the middlemen that were in the supply chain. Perhaps that was a vision that government was looking at, that perhaps if we deal directly, because these are the same people that actually are supplying Kenya. So perhaps if we deal directly with them, the certain things that perhaps will cause the reduction, then they're looking at how they can ensure that supply is constant, how do they safeguard themselves in case of disruptions. But here comes the scenario that the privileges that you were enjoying as a country are going to be waived, premised on the fact that you are now dealing with a company. So already the situation where you're finding that there are just a few players in the sector that are controlling the dynamics of the market, now you're bringing in a monopoly that is going to cut out almost everyone. So that means if you're going to be enjoying all the benefits of you running such a big enterprise and an empire, that means I have to get my cut as a dealer and also as a country. So you will find that the level is going to be, it's going to be like much more of a charge to the for Uganda utilizing the facilities at the port. So that means Uganda has to bear that extra cost. But maybe perhaps we need to look at the economies of scale that Uganda has been enjoying earlier on. Public record, some of the records within the oil and gas sector indicate that the fuel has been coming to Uganda with all access, like inclusive like cost of around like $90 per barrel. So now the question would be, with this new slab, would that still remain the same thing?
Exactly.
Or it is going to go a little bit slightly higher? So you will find that if it goes slightly higher, that means at all costs, government has to either absorb this cost, has to absorb this cost, or the customer has to actually stomach it. So that means if you've been following what the president has been saying, he does not believe in subsidies. So the chances are high that this is a cost that is going to be borne by the final consumer.
Then isn't that to say that an initial idea, which was actually a yes for everyone for this deal to actually go through, reduction in the palm prices, reducing the middlemen, and especially the hikes of some of the middlemen in Kenya, wouldn't it then be an aborted kind of, or a stillbirth, so to say, because you want to reduce the palm price, you already have a cost that is being slapped on you and you're passing it down?
I think that depends on how we look at it. In the short run, yes, we may have to face these challenges, because I am pretty sure that perhaps because of the way this thing came in and the way it was being rushed, perhaps there are certain parameters that government may not have overseen, because maybe the belief of the spirit of the East African region would work. So In this scenario, if they didn't foresee this, that means in the short run, yes, we might face the impact. But in the long run, perhaps, based on the different parameters that government may be having control over, of which there are only 2 out of 4,
okay,
you would find that perhaps this could be something that would work. But to be optimistic about it in the transition period of 3 months, that would be an overstretch for anyone to believe, because I don't believe that the negotiation with Kenya is going to just come like the ministers are going to meet and they're like, hey, yes,
because
yes,
the Minister of Energy, Honorable Ruth Nankabirwa, says, I need to go back. I'm actually back on my way to Nairobi to ensure that we talk. But in just 30 seconds as we go, where do you see this? Where do you see this ending in terms of what was anticipated with the deal and what actually might happen?
What I see is we may end up seeing a mix and match, because realistically the monopolistic kind of economic model will not work. So that means by end of it all, we are going to see government coming into play to allow even the other sector players to be in. Because, like I said, government has no control over the transport costs. Government has no control over the cost of the barrel of oil. The only thing that government has control over is the taxes and regulating the market players. So if government can score on these 2 and maybe perhaps improve also the transportation, then perhaps things could change, because we all know that the OPEC countries are the ones that control the price of the fuel. So unless government has 3 at least parameters controlled, then it may be very difficult for us to see any changes. So either government has to adopt a flexibility whereby they allow also the other players as UNOC also supplements, because ideally UNOC should be just there to safeguard the supply and the security, so that in case there are any disruptions, despite the buffer stock that government envisions, in case there are any disruptions, then these other people can actually get from it. But in the scenario that government is a sole supplier, it may cause a lot of tensions, and we don't know how the market players may actually turn out reacting. So at the end of the day, if these are not smoothened, that means me as the final consumer may end up carrying the heavier impact as compared to the other party.
All right, thank you very much, Mark. It's a mixed reality, so to think about, but we'll wait and see how government gets to deal out with this. I've been speaking